Hey there, welcome into Army-Navy postgame presented by Belfor, the leading disaster recovery partner for businesses and communities. Russ Taylor here in the CBS Sports HQ studio, and the 124th edition of the Army-Navy game has just finished up on CBS. And boy, it came down to this. Clock running, no timeouts. Ty Lavatae off the bench. Played so well for Navy, driving the midshipmen down the field. And on 4th and goal from the 3, the QB sneak is stuffed by the Army cadets. And Army holds on for a 17-11 win over Navy, their 6th win in their last 8 tries. And for Army, that means the cadets have now won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy with wins over Air Force and Navy. What a game in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Army beats Navy 17-11 on CBS. And for more on the 124th edition of Army-Navy, we welcome in CBS Sports college football writer Tom Fornelli. Tom, everybody on our CBS Sports college football team picked Army to win this game. Navy had a chance, man. They drove down the field. They had a chance to get into the end zone, an opportunity maybe to tie this game. What do you think about the call of QB sneak on 4th and goal from the 3?
It was an interesting call, I think, for sure, given the way that everything had been working on that drive. And the fact that, Army was playing off the line of scrimmage so much that it was allowing Navy to just kind of waltz down the field during the final minute. But at the same time, when the field gets short, with the way Navy's offense works, I'm not sure what they feel more comfortable with at that point other than a QB sneak. But clearly, it wasn't enough. They did not get the touchdown. That came up just inches short. And I got to say, Rich, that was a crazy game. It was a whole lot of nothing for about 55 minutes, and then the last 5 minutes was just complete pure insanity. It was a great finish.
No, there were a lot of people watching the scoreboard at the end of this game, not just to see whether or not Navy could get through and maybe go for 2 and tie this thing, and maybe for a second straight year we've got overtime, but also the total in this game was 28. That's what it ended at, 28, because Army takes a safety to run out the clock with 3 seconds left after the goal line stand. People must be going crazy on that last play.
Yeah, they say timing is everything. And, when the line first opened in this game earlier, like a week or so ago, it was in the low 30s. It was at 29.5 for a while, and then it went down to 27.5. So depending on when you betted, whether you took the over or the under, there could be some people who are actually pretty thrilled with the way that game ended. But yeah, if you've got it late, you got it at the 28. Sorry to anybody who had the under, and I'm sure everybody who had the over feels like they won.
Yeah, 4th straight losing season for Navy. Brian Newberry coming so close in his first year as the head coach of the midshipmen. As for Jeff Monk and his team, 6-6, but they're not going to be going bowling. Is there any regret in not seeing Army again, Army or Navy really, in a bowl game this year? Or is this sort of a fitting end in a way for both of their seasons?
I would love to see Army get a chance to play in a bowl game if they had the chance, but unfortunately 2 of their 6 wins are against FCS teams, and only 1 of them can count towards bowl eligibility. But at the same time, while I would love to see them play in another game, I think it is also somewhat fitting that their season ends in this game, because this is the one game that both programs look to all season long. So while going to a bowl game is a nice reward, for either team, it's more of a letdown. This is the Super Bowl for both of these academies. This is what they build for all year. So to get it to end here in this game in the fashion that it did, I think something of a storybook ending for both.
Little bit of an end of an era as well, because next season Army and Navy are actually going to be in the same conference. They're going to be in the AAC. There actually might be an opportunity where those 2 teams could play in a conference championship game before an Army-Navy game. It almost seems odd to think that Army and Navy could play in something other than this kind of spectacle.
Yeah, that would be kind of insane if you think about it, but the possibility exists, because the funniest part is, while they will be in a conference together, this game will not be a conference game. So that way they could keep playing it on this weekend after conference championship. So as you mentioned, the possibility exists that both Army and Navy could finish in 1st and 2nd in the American Athletic, play in the conference championship game, and then the very next week play in the Army-Navy game. That would be incredible if it happened. But I think it's also pretty, reflective of the state of college football as a whole right now, where everything makes sense, but nothing makes sense at the same time.
Well, next year will be the 125th edition of Army-Navy. We'll head just outside of our nation's capital at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, and the regular rotation that we normally see will pick up from there. We'll see Philadelphia involved. We'll see MetLife Stadium just outside New York City. This is the first time ever in the history of this series that the game was played in New England, about an hour between Boston and Providence, sort of the heart of the revolution, if you will. How did you feel about this game being at Gillette Stadium?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good atmosphere for the game. I thought that the stadium, obviously, it's always filled with the cadets and the midshipmen on both sides. So you're always going to get a great atmosphere and the great pageantry to go along with it. And I thought Foxborough and Gillette Stadium, for the most part, did a very good job hosting the game. I'm sure it might be the first time we've seen it there, but I doubt it will be the last time. I would expect that at some point in the future, they make the return trip, although Philadelphia will always be, the home of the game. But I still think that moving it around, it's probably for the better, just getting more people a chance to get to go to the game and see it for themselves, because it truly is one of the most remarkable spectacles in the sport of college football.
Yeah, and it'll be back in Philadelphia in 2027. Last thing, because this is the last game we're going to see from Army and Navy this season. Looking ahead for both of these squads, what reasons for optimism do you see for either going into the 2024 campaign? What should they be looking forward to?
I think for Army, if you look at them on offense this year, they changed things up. We saw them today. They were in the shotgun a lot more. They're trying to modernize the offense. And in a lot of areas, offensively, this was, you could say, it was the worst as far as performance offensive team at Army in Jeff Monken's career. But I think getting this season under their belt is probably good for them going forward. I think Bryson Daly is a good quarterback. And going into the American, they'll probably be better suited to, playing in conference style and be more accustomed to what they've been trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. So maybe things will be a bit smoother. As far as the Navy side, I think, the one thing they've got to work on, we saw Xavier Arline start this game. He was banged up. He was replaced by Ty Lavatai, who gave them a real spark and provided some threat in the passing game that they didn't have for most of the first half. I think the one thing Navy needs to follow suit with when you look at Army is they've got to find a way to develop more of a passing attack. They don't have to completely change who they are, but they do need a situation where when they're in third and longs, when the run game isn't working, they need to give themselves a better chance of converting those situations. We saw that was a huge problem for them in this game until late when they finally started finding some momentum on offense. So I think if you're Navy, that's probably in Brian Newberry. That's going to be your focus going into the offseason. We need to find a way to find a little more consistency on passing attacks. Not completely change the identity, but be a bit more efficient with what we have. That's Tom Fornelli, CBS Sports college football writer. Tom, thanks so much. Stick around. We're not done with you just yet. Army, though, beats Navy 17-11, and with that, they take the Commander-in-Chief's trophy. Here's a look at the last 5. Air Force held it. They could have held on to it had Navy come back to beat Army, but Army, with a win over Air Force earlier this season and a win over Navy, is your Commander-in-Chief's trophy winner in 2023. They shared it in 2021, and Army and Navy split it back in 2020 and 2019 before that.